Veterans That Rock.
All right. Hello, my name is Sailor Scott. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran and musician, and my co-host is.
Hi, everybody. This is Zach Rabbit. I am a guitar shredder and a veteran activist, I guess you would say now. And we are Veterans That Rock. We're a podcast that showcases veterans that, well, rock, arts, pictures, photographers, musicians, directors, you name it. We want to cover it here. But today, I think we have a very, very special guest. What do you think, Sailor Scott?
Yes, today on our episode, we have a very special organization who are called the Wounded Warriors Family Support. And today with us, we have Mr. Martin Duarte and Kate McCauley. Did I pronounce your names right?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank
Hi,
you.
everyone.
Hello, hello. Yeah, so if you guys can just go ahead and, we're familiar with your organization through your website and from talking to Ashley, and if you just want to tell our viewers like what you're here to do and what your organization does, that would be great.
Sure. Well, I'll start, Martin. My name is Kate McCauley. I'm the CEO and president for the Wounded Warriors Family Support. I've been with the organization for over 18 years. I was one of the very first hires. The organization was founded by Colonel John Folsom, and we have 8 board of directors and we have 8 employees. So we're a very lean organization. We also have a 4-star charity through charitynavigator.org. And we are just super proud. We've spent the last 22 years implementing programs. And let me turn it over to Martin Duarte, and he'll tell you a little bit about some of our other programs. Go ahead, Martin.
Please.
In regards to our legacy programs, yes, sir. So my name is Martin Duarte. Retired Master Gunny, served 30 years in the Marine Corps, and now I serve as the programs outreach coordinator for Wounded Warriors Family Support. We have 4 legacy programs and 2 additional programs that we support. Our Mobility is Freedom, which provides vehicle grants up to $30,000 for the purchase of a new or used vehicle. And in addition, depending on funding available, we also provide full grants, meaning that we purchase the vehicle in full, whatever the costs, and we also pay for the modifications. Just to give you a quick synopsis of what we're talking about, costs for an F-150, your basic model XLT, you're looking right now about $65,000. If you have an MPT, that's a double or triple MPT that requires the modifications to make them an independent driver. Now you start talking about hand controls. You start talking about a chair that's going to need to rotate 180 degrees, 6 to 12 inches from the ground, so we can transition from the wheelchair to the chair. And you're going to need a Bruno arm, which is a wheelchair lift, to put that chair into the back of the truck or into whatever the requirement of the vehicle is. So you can be looking at easily $100,000. Those type of modifications are not cheap. The other challenge that our veterans run into, a lot of companies do not want to work with our veterans. And I'll give you the main reason why they don't want to work for our veterans. The fact is that it's taking the VA right now anywhere between 6 months to 2 years to pay for modifications, even though they have been approved. However, the dispersing, the allocation process takes that long. So a lot of companies can now wait 6 months to 2 years to get reimbursed for that. And that's how we were very fortunate to have worked with a company that we're still working with, a company by the name of Driver Rehabilitation Center of Excellence out of Chantilly, Virginia, that still works with the VA. So that allows us sometimes to not be able to expand all our resources just on modifications if we can work with the VA. Most of our combat veterans that are injured, every 4 years, they receive a stipend for modifications. If it happens to align during the purchase of that vehicle or the grant that we provide, they're able to utilize that stipend, and whatever that stipend doesn't cover, that's where the organization steps in. Our second legacy program is our Veterans Welding Program in collaboration with the UAW Ford Motor Company. 3 times a year, we're able to send 10 veterans to Detroit, Michigan to be trained as welders. Just to give you a little background of the cost that it takes to send 10 veterans to Detroit, Michigan, the UAW drops about $92,000 for those 6 weeks. They pay for the training site. They pay for anywhere between 4 to 5 instructors to train our veterans. They pay for all the welding material they're going to utilize during those 6 weeks. In addition, they feed them breakfast and lunch Monday through Friday. They provide them with all the welding material, and they also pay for the certifications through the American Welding Society. As I mentioned earlier, a great thing about this program is the certifications do not come from the UAW or Ford Motor Company. They come from the American Welding Society, which is the national organization that establishes welding regulations for North America. So meaning that a lot of our veterans that do get their certifications through their local college, their certifications might only be good in their state. However, the certifications from the American Welding Society, they're good anywhere in North America. Canada, United States, and Mexico, their certifications are good. Our third program is our respite program, and this is only for veterans that have a care provider. What happens when their care provider steps away from those duties due to a medical emergency, due to a family emergency, or just to decompress from those duties? Most of you guys may be aware that being a care provider is a 7 days a week job. Doesn't matter holidays, none of that matters. So that's where our organization can step in temporarily and provide the same services by hiring somebody in the local economy that can provide the same services that care provider does. And our fourth legacy program is we have a resorts slash staycations that our veterans can elect. If they don't want to travel to Florida, we can provide them a staycation somewhere near so they don't have to make that travel. However, if they do elect to go to Florida, they're able to stay in one of our designated areas that we approve. They're able to get tickets to the local parks. And if they don't have the means to travel, we can provide them with a stipend. And in addition to that, like I mentioned, we have 2 additional initiatives that the organization focused very heavily on obtaining. Our first was a lot of our welders, we've been doing welding since 2014. So a lot of our welders, they used to come out and say, look, now that I have my certifications, I want to open my own business to be an entrepreneur. I want to order my own welding. So back about 3 years ago, our president, Kay McCauley, and one of our board of director members reached out to a company, Pathway Financial in Kansas City, Missouri, which now, this year was the 3rd year that they provided quotas for us to send veterans to be trained as entrepreneur. It's an 8-week course, online course through Blackboard, which teach them the basic fundamentals of how to start your LLC, how to maneuver to the financial banking system, how to obtain grants, how to do business taxes, and so forth. And the great thing about this organization, once they graduate, if they're not ready to start their business, let's say hypothetically a year from later, they want to start their business, and now they're having challenges on completing the paperwork or maneuvering to all those different agencies, they can reach out to Pathway Financial and they provide them with a mentor that can walk them step by step on how to do that sort of information.
That's amazing.
Yes, sir. And the last one that I'm going to need case assistance in a minute is the Jason Dunham House. One of the things that our founder, Colonel John Folsom, started noticing that a lot of our combat veterans, as time has progressed, their care providers were their parents, due to the fact that a lot of them come back disabled in real bad medical condition, and the spouses are not able to cope with that. So the parents become the care providers. But what happens when the parents now get too old or pass away? What happens to that veteran? About 90% of the time, those veterans end up in the care of the VA. And not to speak ill of the VA or be disrespectful to the VA, they do the best they can with their resources. They reach out to the lowest bidder where they can put that veteran in an assisted living home. Well, Colonel Folsom took it upon himself a couple of years back to build an assisted living home there in Omaha, Nebraska, where our veterans can have a place that's going to honor their service and treat them the proper way that a veteran should be treated. And with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Kate so she can go over as far as the specs of the building, number of beds, and the cost associated. So Kate, please take it over.
Thank you, Martin. Thanks for sharing those programs. All of our programs were designed around the family. That's where we get the family support. So I just want to let you know that we have spent 22 years identifying gaps in services and challenges veterans face when they're returning home. So that's why you see a lot of our programs, the focus is on the family. I want to talk about the Dunham House. It's named after Corporal Jason Dunham. He was actually, I believe he was around 20 years old when he enlisted, and he threw his body on a grenade to save his unit. So he was one of the very first Medal of Honor recipients. And so we want to honor Jason, and we're honoring him by memorializing the Dunham House in his name. There will be a memorial for him. There will also be a post 9/11 memorial that the public would be able to come and visit at the site. We have 40 acres. We're building on 8.5 of that. So we have plenty of room to expand should we need that or want to do that in the future. But we're doing 30 individual residences. And what we're finding is that some of our veterans, especially during COVID, they were being put into nursing homes. There was nowhere for them to go. And so they're around people that are very, very old. And so it just was not a good fit for our veteran population. Also, there's veteran housing that is built by the federal government. So you're really restricted as what we can build because of the just not being able to do it. So our building is $10 million. It is built with America's money. There's no government funding for the building. We're so proud to be able to offer 30 individual units that will have their own kitchens, their own private area, but then you're going to have common areas. We have a beautiful big kitchen. We'll have a chef on staff. They'll have hot meals. The goal is to get the veterans to communicate and be out of the room, socialize. We know that in our line of work, there's a lot of isolation for our veteran population. There's a lot of suicide, and we're hoping that this could be a way for them all to come together and live with similar backgrounds.
Definitely. I mean, I think I think I speak for both me and Sailor Scott when I say we appreciate you so much for coming on the show with us today and talking about these programs and the work that you do. One thing that I definitely noticed right away is you're an incredible one-stop shop for so many resources that the VA also has programs that are offered. But I also really love that you take the extra step and worry about the family who's dealing with this situation. I mean, how did the colonel kind of come up with that idea?
So, I worked with him for so long, and that was one of the very first questions because him and I both have a real estate background. That's how we met. And I remember saying to him, Colonel, why are you doing this? And at that time, we were very, very small. We only had one program, and it was our resort program. And that was designed for a combat wounded veteran that came back home, had little kids and a wife, and he came back disfigured. And Colonel Folsom would see him at those military hospitals and see those kids. It didn't matter what mom or dad looked like. Those kids went right up to the chest to hold mom or dad. And primarily it was dad. And so he wanted to do something for those kids. He said, these kids did not ask for this. This is just what happened. This is their circumstances. So once the veterans went through their medical procedures and that type of stuff, we offered them an all-inclusive kind of time away for some reconnections with their families. And it just seems to happen really good at Universal Studios. There's a lot of reconnection that goes on. We also would offer, Yellowstone and some of the other parks as well. But primarily it was Universal Studios. But it might sound like, oh, it's just a vacation for these families. But, first of all, most of our families can't afford a vacation like that, especially the way things have really been so expensive lately. But to see mom or dad, to be able to not worry about the money part of it, to get there. And sometimes we have to have a caregiver go with, depending on what the circumstances are with the veteran. And that helps them be able to have a better time. If they need to go back to the room, they can go back to the room. The kids can still stay and have a good time. So that's the way it was first started. That was our first program. And back when I started in 2007, we were sending 200 families a year. So there was a huge need for reconnection. But as that evolved, we started thinking, okay, now what about the caregivers? What about the wife? What about the spouse that's taking care of the kids? And here's our dynamic, very young families, they enlisted very young. And so they back in the day, they had 3 kids under the age of 10. 1 or 2 usually had special needs. It's just the way the statistics are. And mom has put her own health care off because she's too busy taking care of her husband, veteran, and her kids. And now, 20 plus years later, we're finding that the caregivers are having stages of breast cancer that they weren't aware of and other health related issues. And so they're going to need to step away from their household and get the care that they need. Who's going to be there? Now, the VA does have some stuff set up for them, but if they have an accident, illness, or emergency right now, if they were to call the VA, they're not going to get support right away. We are set up in all statewide, nationally, to be able to care. We have agencies in lots of states. We're well established to be able to do in-home health care. We can do food grants. We can do medical travel grants. And a big thing is home housekeeping, especially if you've been through cancer treatments. You have to keep everything really super, super clean. So those are things that we evolved and thought, gosh, who is taking care of the caregiver? Not really anybody. Now you see a lot more programs for the caregiver, but at the time there was really a limited things for the caregiver to be able to get a break from.
Yeah, if you don't mind, Sailor Scott, I just want to say to Kate and to Gunny here, like I'm actually in that situation myself now with an older veteran, in his late 80s, was drafted in the 50s. Luckily didn't go to Korea, but wasn't aware of a lot of these resources that were available to him. And we just recently found a company privately, and they told us about that VA linkage. So my family is now trying to work that ladder. I suggested it before, I promise, being a veteran myself, but for some reason they had other avenues to go. But yeah, I can see exactly what you mean. And I was also going to say, both of you, I'm sure, having the experience in DoD transitory phases, it must you both probably are very experienced how it takes some time, not even after a deployment or even a business trip for a certain amount of time, for that normalcy to sort of come back. And after such a severe injury, I mean, I'm sure that time kind of doubles or triples. So, I mean,
and it doesn't go away for the families. Like I said earlier, especially if you're missing limbs, you're going through surgeries, you're doing everything you can to stay intact, and we're 20 years later, and so we're seeing a lot more of that severe injury type of thing. When you're talking about was it your Vietnam veteran that you're
Korea era, but
Korea
yes.
era? Well, I will tell you, in our respite care, which I was just talking about, the main population is the Vietnam era right now. Those are the veterans that really didn't receive a lot of services when they came back. But now we're noticing their aging population is utilizing our respite through the home health care and some of the other things that we offer. So just a FYI on that.
That's
kind
great.
of statistically, is our respite program is primarily Vietnam era.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, these resources that you offer are amazing, and it's like hopefully some of these older, Vietnam era people have, maybe somebody younger to help them, with
Navigate.
computers and all this stuff. It's like the technology. Yeah, but your resources are absolutely amazing for the family, it sounds like, and yeah, I can't imagine.
There's even some really good things, for both the family and the veteran. Like I really love the welding program, especially that it's on just the standard level instead of
Hey,
like
we have female welders too, friends. We have
no, of
females in
course.
there too. We do.
I mean
It-
that, yes, of
We've had
course.
some very successful welders.
And I was gonna echo on that from Kate. The best welders that we have had go through the course have been women,
Yeah.
believe it or not.
That's
And
awesome.
we have resources for those veterans, by the way. We just signed a charity partnership with AM Vets, and they will take any one of our welders and they will relocate them. They will help them with their resumes. They'll get them jobs. And I guess what was happening is with the illegal immigration, there's a lot of companies that had to redesign the people that they were hiring. And so the big focus is on veteran hiring. And we also have a board of director that owns a company in Odessa, Texas, that has hired on a few of our veterans too. So it's not like we take them through our program and we drop them off. We try to take them to that next step, whatever that might be.
I definitely got that from the Gunny's description of it. Like you said that there was a chance for like one-on-one instruction if there was some issues or something, I guess, with that educational
Yes.
uh, development.
And, and one of the things that we did over the last 2 years, we did an assessment of our welding program just to see the success rate of our veterans. And over the last 2 years, which we looked at 2023 and 2024, 55% of the veterans that went through the course obtained jobs in the welding industry. In addition to that, one of the things that we received from the UAW, and this was in 2022, when they stated that by 2024, there was going to be about 300,000 jobs vacant in the welding industry because there's not enough trades in the United States. Everything has been shipped out of country. Now that we're trying to bring all this stuff back, guess what? There's a gaps there. And that's why a lot of companies, we also have a local company in Michigan that has solicitor assistance that with the permission of the veteran, we can provide them their information. If they want to relocate to the Michigan area, they can find them a job as long as they have a certification.
That's a great thing for those veterans, especially the younger guys that get out the 4 or 6 year mark that are looking for a new career and want some kind of exciting new experience. I know for us, it was always like, oh, all I can do is drive a truck or, wash a truck or like there's, I know a big problem. I love the resume service that you're offering. Like for a lot of these younger veterans out there, a program like this is just as wonderful because you're adding a direction, once you enter the ocean that is the civilian world, right? I mean, I just can't say enough to anyone watching to utilize resources like this. I mean, if you go just to your homepage, you've been serving families and wounded veterans since 2003. $8.6 million spent on respite for the caregivers, 10.3 million on vehicle modifications, and like over 1.4 million families served altogether. I mean, those are incredible numbers for such a mission.
Thank you. It's been 22 years of hard work and really listening to what is needed and what those gaps are. And we've been very fortunate that the American public have funded this organization. We're not at war. It's 22 years later and we're still here. So we know we're doing something right. And with the initiative, the Dunham House, our donors should be so proud of what we're putting together for these veterans, because it's just something that there's a lot of huge organizations, but they just don't put this kind of work into it anymore for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, if there's like an unveiling of the Dunham House in 2026, man, we would love to come out there and just like see it take off.
Do
We
a
would love
tour or
to have
something
you.
of it and put it up. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to probably go out to the site today. It's starting to get kind of cold, but we're starting to go vertical. They put in the storm shelters and all that kind of stuff. And so we're just waiting to get a little further along and then we'll do another update, but we'd certainly love to have you guys. That'd be great.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. The other thing I think is really fun about that project, the Dunham House. Well, first off, I'm sure Gunny knows, and you might as well. When it comes to the testing for your promotions in the military, at least for the Air Force anyway,
Mhm.
you have to know, or yeah, you have to. You're tested on those Medal of Honor recipients and those stories. So it was really cool when you told me that story. But something I learned doing this project is, speaking of females, we did a female veteran who was also a Marine, B. Arthur,
Mhm.
best known from, Dorothy on Golden Girls. And she had a similar dream. Upon her passing, she gave the city of New York like $3.3 million, and they
Wow.
renovated a property with 13 rooms. Those were for homeless LGBTQ youth. But it's
Mhm.
just sort of something I've noticed as time goes on, and hearing your conversation with the colonel, hearing both of you speak. I do find it just so incredible, the fraternity of the veteran community. Since I've been out, there's been no better resource. It seems like everyone's always friendly and willing to talk. We're not a very old channel yet, but we're growing, and it's really neat that you guys came on and are willing to tell people about your project. Is there anything you want to explain about the process of how you become a part of this? Or, I mean, I'm assuming it's got to be pretty easy for the families to get rolling, to get these.
It's really easy for our applications are on our website at WWFS.org, and you're going to click under the program area and look for the program that you want to apply. We've made it really simple for our veteran population. It's just a very simple application with a little bit of information that we'll need. And then we have case managers that will call back within 24 to 48 hours and process the veterans whatever that case may be. So it's a
And,
really, really
and,
simple.
and even with your documentation, we're very well aware that we protect PII. So we do not request social security numbers. You can blacken that off your DD-214. If you're not comfortable on putting your home address, you can blacken that out. And then, the only time that we request such information, if we do have to purchase airfare or make reservations, because there are some requirements legally that we have to provide. But other than that, PII is very high on our standards, not to ensure that that's late or somebody's able to hack into our system and obtain that information.
Mhm.
That makes you feel really good in these days, especially I know with the older population, they definitely want to make sure their information is safe. We don't sponsor any VPNs or anything like that, but that is something to think about for you guys. I know Express is one that's pretty good. Um, I was curious a little bit more about your entrepreneur program as well that you mentioned, one of the legacy programs. Um, the who is in charge of the class? Like, is that also something that you leave?
What a really good question. So they use this platform called Blackboard, and Pathway Financial Services, or I'm sorry, it's Pathway Financial Education. They're located in Kansas City, and they're kind of a spinoff from a lot of like traders in the industry, a lot of financial investors. And they wanted to, and not just for veterans, but for everybody, they wanted to financially educate people. They're like, people just don't know a lot about money. And so that's how we kind of started working with them. But there's a designated person that holds the class, and everybody logs in, just like we're logging in right now, and she goes through the course. And sometimes it's an hour, sometimes it's a little bit less, but you have the chance to interact. Usually there's 12 to 15. There could be 20 veterans or people on at one time. And it's just, they go through whatever is that class for that week. And then you always have a chance to email the instructor. You can chat the instructor during her presentation. It's just a really slick way. It's once a week for, I think it was 6 weeks or 9 weeks, I can't remember. But Martin and I took the class just to see, what it was.
Very cool.
And we walked away with some knowledge. I think Martin's wife took it.
Mhm.
They opened it up to let anybody take the class. If you wanted to take the class, you could take the class. You just need the link. And there's no charge for that. And it's a nonprofit. And so we just partner together and we just do it to make it just a little bit better for our veteran population.
If I
Great.
may add something, the course was granted to us. The course actually is for 8 weeks is $500 per person. Now, one of the things that I did neglect to mention, this year they opened it up the course to the spouses and anybody that was living in the home that was 17 and up. They still lived in the home. They could have taken the entrepreneurship course as well. So the previous 2 years it was strictly veterans, and we only got 6 to 8 seats. The last course this year was 25 seats, and I don't know if we're going to get an increase this 2026. Hopefully we do, but that would give us a little bit more resources to provide to our veteran population.
Yeah, I would like to let you guys know of a course that I just got done with and I'm still in. It's from NYU. It's called the NYU Future Labs, and they have a course called VET1, VET2, and now I'm in an Apex incubator. I'm an entrepreneur also, and this offers entrepreneurial course. Well, you could be a veteran or a spouse, and maybe I think a dependent. And like Vet One is a really great course. They teach you how to create a pitch, make your pitch deck. On Vet Two, which I just completed a little while ago, we just did our like financial, like a smaller business plan, pretty much like a one page. And right now I'm in like a 9 month program through NYU, and this is open nationwide to veterans also. So like Vet One and Vet Two, we just signed on to Zoom or whatever, and a lot of people had really great ideas, tech stuff. Whether I have a physical invention that I've been working on, and it's a really great course. So you guys might want to link up with them. And
Now, are this free of charge? Are
free
there?
of charge.
Okay.
I will email you
Yeah, definitely.
the directors' names and stuff like that.
Perfect.
Really cool course.
And so anybody out there who's watching this program, especially, the artists or musicians or, shirt makers, things like that, these classes are so important. I mean, me and Scott have both taken courses like this. I took it through the Air Force on my way out. Scott took it just recently as he's being told, and now we're being told about another one we're probably going to take. So make sure you're utilizing these resources so you can have a cool career. It's that easy.
Yeah, there's so many resources that like I just find out about through my fiance. Like I get free dental from NYU Dental School, and it's students, but they're really great students. They're all monitored under a dentist. So
There's
so many
just
resources.
so many useful things out there. It's funny. I actually ran into your program in, I believe it was 2016 on my second deployment. I would talk to a representative from the Wounded Warrior Family Support, and it was funny because originally I thought it was the Wounded Warrior Project. I thought there was an affiliation there, but they explained to me, just like you are now, that it's more dedicated to families, and I'd kind of forgotten about it, to be honest, because I don't have any kids and I'm not married. So it just had crossed my mind. But as I am getting older and, getting a little more dedicated into family living, these things are becoming a lot more important to me and to the people around me as I deal with my own, you know, uh, medical issues from my time in service. So, uh, I mean, the last question I really have to ask, especially since I just spoke about having medical issues, is obviously about the equipment, for trucks and things like that. Is there any information, information you guys offer on those things? I know you said you can work with Veteran Affairs to sort of cover some costs sometimes, so you're not, there's a lot. It sounds like there's a lot of options when it comes to being able to provide the equipment that the veteran needs after their injuries or
So
systems.
what we typically do is we identify the veteran ahead of time. So if we have a business, which we're doing a grant with a business called Assurance Foundation in a week, and what they do is they purchase the vehicle. The vehicle, then we ship the vehicle up to Chantilly to have the modifications. Now, depending on what that veteran needs, would be what they would modify. And Martin, you would have the
Yeah.
details.
So like Kate said, once we identify the veteran, then DRC, which is Driver Rehabilitation Center of Excellence, flies the veteran to Chantilly, Virginia, to do an assessment of what the veteran's going to need. And at times, you have a lot of veterans that are very proud. They don't want to utilize certain equipment because they feel like it's going to impede on their
True.
independence. So that's where the professionals come in and explain to them, look, as time progresses, things are not going to get better. They're going to get worse. So we rather put the equipment for you to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So they usually keep them up there for about, anywhere between 1 to 2 days to do a complete assessment to make sure that he knows how to operate the adaptive drive equipment that he's going to get put on the vehicle. And if there's any question that he has or maintenance about the vehicle, they can provide all that information. And at any time, they can bring the vehicle back to make sure that everything is working up to its proper way. And if there's any issues, they'll fly a technician out there to fix the problem. So that's one of the great partnerships that we have with DRCE that ensures that our veterans have what they need to be self-independent.
And that trip is also covered under your programs, like
We
the cost of it?
provide a yearly grant to DRC to cover the cost of the veteran for lodging, for food, and for airfare. So yes, it is covered through us as well.
Yeah, like I said, just a quick closeout, make sure all the thoughts were said. I was just gonna kind of ask, I guess, if there was anything you would like to say directly to our audience, any kind of like the reason you do what you do, or just anything, I guess, if there's anything you'd like to say to them.
I'll go. I've dedicated the last 18 years to our veteran population. It's been a true privilege and honor, and we will continue to be here as long as the American public funds us and likes what we're doing. We've serviced more veterans every year, and we're just really dedicated to making sure that they have the care and the protection and the safety that they require.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And I just would like to thank both of you for allowing us some time on your platform to speak to your audience. And if in the near future your audience feel inclined to donate to a nonprofit, I would ask that you consider Wounded Warriors Family Support as your preferred charity. But if you don't, I would ask that you look at Charity Navigator and pull up the organization that you're looking at donating and see where your disbursement of money is going to go into. If you look at us on Charity Navigator, our rating is a 4-star charity. In order to become a 4-star charity, 80% of your revenue, so that means for every dollar that comes in, a minimum of 80 cents has to go into your programs department. Over the last 13 years, correct me if I'm wrong, about anywhere between 86 to 88%, meaning 86 cents to 88 cents goes into our programs department, and 12 cents to keep the lights on and pay our employees. So having 100% transparency and having our financials out there on how the organization conducts business, I think is a big benefit for those individuals that want to make an impact on veteran charities. So I would like again to thank you for what you do and sponsoring charities like us, getting our message across the country. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yes. And there is on the WWFS.org, you could easily donate. There's a donate button up top on the top right corner. So if any of our audience feels obligated, please donate, to this organization. They do wonderful things for veterans and their families. Yeah, this is a really great, powerful job you guys are doing. It's pretty amazing.
And
Thank
from
you.
Veterans That Rock, thank you both for your service. It really means a lot.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.